So, Deval, we're on
Yes.
to Deadpool 2. And you know what? It just doesn't have a kind of like a colon and then
Yeah.
another part.
It's kind of old school, what do you think? 'Cause a lot of
Deadpool
old
2.
school sequels were just the name in two or three or,
And you know what? I love that. I love it. Just like in your face, bang. So actually, before we get into Deadpool 2, let's go back a bit and go back to 2016 and talk about Deadpool. So what do we know about Deadpool? I mean, he's like he's a fan favorite, right, with the comics.
Yeah, he's a massive fan favorite with the comics. People love Deadpool. He's the merc with the mouth. He's a character who does just the most craziest, zaniest, wackiest things. He breaks the fourth wall, so he addresses the reader or the viewer if you're watching through TV. But he's been around for quite a long time. I mean, just a bit of history of Deadpool. His real name Wade Winston. What's his name? Wade
Wilson.
Wilson. Yes, Wade Winston Wilson. 3 W's. That's his full name.
Wow.
And he came about in the early 90s, 91, I believe. A Rob Liefeld creation. His first appearance was in New Mutants, I believe, in that year. And he was just a refreshing, change to what was already available in the comics. And yeah, ever since then, he's been a massive comic favourite.
Yeah, and like you said about he was refreshing. Like, why do you think it was refreshing to have him? Was Marvel, were they getting stagnant? Were they getting boring? Or
I wouldn't say they were getting boring. They had a lot of good, really great characters. Spider-Man, the Avengers, Wolverine, and a lot of characters that were. Well, I don't know if Wolverine. Yeah, Wolverine was around then. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of characters were really good and so on. But I would say he came about and he sort of flipped the script. He's an anti-hero. Even when he first appeared, he was actually a straight villain.
I see.
You began to find out his intentions and that he was just crazy and he meant well, but he doesn't care if he spills a bit of milk here or there or not milk,
or a bit of blood. Yeah.
Yeah. So and the fact that he broke the fourth wall. Who else done that? I mean. Yeah, he was refreshing. He was new. He was going against the grain. A lot of superheroes were righteous and doing the right thing for humanity and society. But Wade Wilson, he's a mercenary. So merc is short for mercenary. He gets paid to kill people,
to take people out. Totally. So what about this? Isn't the first time we've seen Wade Wilson like on screen?
No.
He was famously. And this was like widely mocked. I mean, this was like kind of a lot of people like were pissed off about this. And he appeared in
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
He appeared in X-Men Origin Wolverine, and it was Ryan Reynolds who played him.
Yep.
Same actor. And what did they do? I mean, what they did with that character was just kind of... I do have to say, though, the opening of that movie, where they're in... I can't remember where they go to, but they have to extract something. General...
X-Men Origins?
Yeah, Stryker.
Okay, yeah.
So Stryker orders the...
They go to Nigeria, I think.
Yeah. And they've got to extract some sort of stone or some sort of metal. And Wade Wilson is there, and he's funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, he does make you laugh. And so, in a way, I just think to myself, Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. We've seen him there, and that wasn't a great movie. So in 2016, he bursts onto the scene in Deadpool, and I have to say, the film, I absolutely loved it. It was sweary, it was violent, it went against everything that Marvel or kind of like the cinematic universe, like X-Men. It was totally like opposite to what X-Men was.
Yeah,
and it was a big hit.
Yeah, massive hit. And I know America and England or the UK rates films differently. I mean, it was 15 in the UK. America would call it rated R, and that's something that never really happened, apart from maybe Blade and a few films like that. But a lot of all the X-Men films are pretty much a 12A or maybe a 12, and because they want you to bring the whole family. But Deadpool, you cannot do Deadpool and have Deadpool a 12 or 12A. He has to be 15 or above, because he's chopping people's heads off, he's swearing, he is doing all sorts. So they really kept it to the original depiction.
Yeah, and when I saw Deadpool, you know more about comics than I do, and seeing like Deadpool in X-Men Origins, I was like, oh god, like, you know, yeah, this is. But I knew that this was a big character. But then seeing him in 2016, I thought this is amazing. I had like a huge amount of fun like watching that movie. And after 2016, I was like, I can't wait to see what they're going to do next. So here we are. We see Deadpool, and is it a straight continuation of the ending of?
I'd say it's a straight continuation. First of all, I mean, we're going to go in, so we've got to have a spoiler warning for people that haven't seen the film. I know it's quite fresh, so far we've sort of talked about. We'll sort of talk about it, and then we'll go into more deeper spoilers down the way. But yeah I'll say for the start, it pretty much continues from Deadpool 1, goes into Deadpool 2. We see, you know, a continuation of the character's story and their life and what's happening and so on. So yeah, it's a continuation. They do it well.
So let's kind of like, you know, go back a bit. It starts off with Deadpool blowing himself up.
Yep. So massive.
This is like massive spoiler here.
Yeah.
Deadpool, he kills himself.
It's but obviously, you know, Deadpool, and that's not an easy thing to do. So by him trying to kill himself, he's almost just, you know, tickling himself. I don't know.
Yeah, like, but why? Why is he doing it? Why does he feel this way? Why does he feel like as if he has to kind of like end his life?
It's quite clever the way they do it, because they present us at a period in his life in the film, but when we see him blow himself up, we think, why would he do that? But then it takes us back 6 weeks to find out why he's come to this conclusion that he needs to blow himself up, and then we understand what's going on.
Yeah, so he's in this relationship with, you know what? What is her name?
Vanessa is her real name.
Yeah,
and her name in the comics is she's got two names in the comics. Well, Vanessa is her name in the film, and she's also in the comics called Copycat. But I don't think in the film they're really exploring that yet. But yeah, her name's Vanessa, basically.
So they are. So we've got Deadpool who's in this relationship. Obviously, you know, he's loved up. He'll do anything for Vanessa. And
I would too, to be honest.
Well, I mean, she's pretty good.
She's alright.
She's more than alright, I'd say. I mean, because when you see Wade Wilson's face,
yeah.
I mean, in this movie, like
he is punching. I'm telling you, he is.
Punching above his weight, this guy is, because his burnt up toes, like what you'll see in the movie. Oh gosh. But so he's kind of in this relationship, which is kind of, we haven't seen really in Marvel films, or have we? Like where you've got a main character who has this happy relationship.
Yeah. It's different to see, and even though he's still living the life of a mercenary, he's still out there killing for money.
Yeah.
And but he still comes home to his partner, and even at this time, at this point in their relationship in their life, they're talking about having kids and, you know, starting a family and
get married. I'm assuming.
Of. Which superhero has a family? Like,
I mean,
apart from you, obviously.
Yeah, well, you know, come on, you'll be there soon. Don't worry about. But imagine that Deadpool having a kid. Like, hang on, does that happen in the comics?
I don't know actually. I don't think it does.
Okay,
but there's always these, you know, these comics that go off from the normal story and have little, you know, one shots and so on. So who knows? Yeah.
So before we kind of carry on, I do want to talk about the director of this. This is directed by David
Leitch.
David, if you're out there, let us know, please, how you pronounce your name. So David Leitch, who directed he done parts of John Wick.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I'm a big fan of John Wick. It's just like a full-on action. And this guy, he's directed Deadpool 2. He's been a stuntman. He's acted as a stunt double for Brad Pitt, Jean-Claude Van Damme. So wow. He's also had roles in Tron Legacy, which was back in 2010. And here's the connection with Tully. David Leitch was the director of Atomic Blonde.
Oh, okay.
Which starred Charlize Theron.
Okay.
And for me, Atomic Blonde I really like that movie because of its vibe. You know, it's set in the 80s. You know, this whole kind of the spy thriller genre, and it kind of harks back to the 80s. You know, B movies, and I say B movies in a positive way. So you know, he comes from like this, you know, this action background. So when I saw his name up on the screen, I thought, yeah, we're in good hands over here. Mm-hmm. He's going to take the action to kind of like a different level. Yeah. So I thought we're in good hands over here. So he's in this relationship. Yep. He's taken out a few bad guys in the beginning. What happens?
They're looking to progress their relationship. They want to have a baby. What happens is they're just chilling, you know, relaxing in front of the TV. I think it is. They're watching some Barbra Streisand old school film. And someone whose gang he's killed, the boss of that gang finds him, tracks him down. A few of his goons break in, try to kill him, end up killing his beloved Vanessa.
Vanessa. It's so funny because before we see this, we see kind of like these mini scenes where he travels around the whole world.
Yeah.
So, for example, he ends up in China, in Japan. He ends up in somewhere in Europe, and he is chopping down all the bad guys. So, and the way he does this is absolutely brilliant. So, in terms of the fun, the ride that you're on, I think you're going to love it. So, Vanessa's dead, and this kind of puts him on this journey to. He doesn't want to live, right?
No, he feels guilty because really, I mean, they came for him, but she ended up dying. And obviously he can't die, so it's almost as if it's his fault for his beloved, you know, paying the ultimate price, and he's left behind.
Yeah, and I guess that is it's a well-worn trope in movies where the hero, the titular hero, the wife dies or the children dies, and you know they go out to get revenge.
Yeah.
That's well-worn, right?
The other thing that he didn't do is, you know, kneel down and go no in the rain. That, you know, we usually get that before they start their rampage, you know.
But having said that, there is a scene in the rain.
Yeah,
there is a bit in the rain. So you are absolutely right. Like, and it kind of, that bit kind of reminds me of like John Wick, where obviously, like, you know, the revenge. I mean, John Wick is just full on. It's about, but it's not even about John Wick's like wife dying. It's about the dog dying. Yeah, the dog. So. So this is a well-worn trope, and you know, Deadpool's out. He doesn't know what to do with himself, and he's kind of, you know, unsure. And he goes to you know, the old lady in the film. She's
Blind
brilliant.
Owl.
Yeah, who is
Blind
that?
Owl. She's in the comics as well, actually.
Is she in the comics?
She's in the comics. Blind Owl. She's someone that he lives with and provides a bit of comic relief, and they have a, you know, funny relationship, good dynamic.
Yeah.
Just, you know, just Blind Owl.
so you've got the usual suspects in there. So you've got Blind Owl. You've got his mate. What's his mate's name again?
Weasel.
And this is the guy from
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley.
AJ something Miller. His name
TJ Miller.
TJ Miller. That's
and
the one.
He's not in. Apparently, he's not in.
Something happened, isn't it? Something happened. I don't fully know what it is, but something happened.
TJ, if you're listening, let us know, please. What happened?
Yeah. And he won't be listening.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Or maybe he will.
And and we've got and one of the favorite characters. Well, he's funny anyway, and is the Asian guy is Dopinder.
Dopinder, he's wicked.
I think this is hilarious. But you know what?
Wicked.
I've got to say one thing, right? It kind of it makes me laugh. Just like, what was the reason? He's not in the comic books, right?
I don't think so.
No,
it's just it's all like a stereotype of the city of the times.
Exactly.
But they play to it, but give him sort of like a hero's storyline as well.
A mate of mine's got this theory, and obviously, I mean, he comes up with a lot of shit. But I mean, this thing he said, right, was he goes, "Oh, if you have a look at the credits, it's produced by an Indian guy."
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So what he said was, he goes, they have to so that they can market it around the world.
That makes sense. Yeah.
For example, in India, there's like 1 billion people. it makes sense then for them to, how are they going to connect with the film?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, it happens a lot.
They have like an Indian character in there. So,
Yeah.
and I at first I was like, oh yeah, why are they doing this? But he's actually quite funny.
Yeah.
It is like relief, but you're right about the whole kind of the stereotypical thing and like, you know, but yeah, so you got the usual suspects in there, and there's a bit in there with Dopinder. He's kind of like driving Deadpool around, and you know the interaction between those two guys is quite funny. So Vanessa's dead. He's killed loads of bad guys. We see the usual suspects in there, and then there's something major that happens in the film, and we're introduced to a new character.
Which new character could you be talking about?
This guy is a legend in Marvel Comics. I mean, you know what? Cable turned up in an X-Men movie, didn't he?
Nope.
Hasn't he been in? Wasn't he in X-Men Days of Future Past?
No, but Bishop you're talking about.
That was his son.
Bishop. Bishop's not his son.
What? Hang on.
Bishop's black. I know it's the future and all, but I don't know if you can choose. You can just choose your race in the future.
Apologies. For some reason I always had it in my head right that they changed Bishop.
Oh no,
just like they did with Heimdall, like you know, like you know for the film. Okay, so Bishop has nothing to do with Cable, right?
Why you got them mixed up? Because in the comics, and even in the cartoons, Bishop and Cable, because they're both time travelers, they do cross, you know, time paths, and they cross paths quite a lot. So it is easy to get them mixed up.
Yeah.
But Cable is further ahead in the future than
right.
Bishop.
Okay, so Cable is a time traveler, but he's not just a time traveler. He's just this badass, like this killing machine. Like his weapons, like he, you know, like in the movie you see he's got this kind of like metal arm.
Winter Soldier arm.
He's got this thing like on his back. Yeah. Which when you look at it, you think, oh my God, this guy's going to do some damage. And I tell you what, man, Josh Brolin, this guy, he's in peak. This guy's about 50.
I still hear Thanos when he speaks. I don't know what it is.
And what about the reference? Yeah. Deadpool calls him Thanos.
Yeah.
This is Deadpool. This is how much fun like these guys are having with the movie, where Deadpool is calling Josh Brolin Thanos. It's like, I mean, you can't get more kind of, you know, meta than that. So we were introduced to Cable, who is going through this like big thing in the future. He's just lost his family, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, right, okay. You know, he's growling and he's grunting, and you know, he's got his time. What is that thing called on his wrist? I want to get one.
I don't know what the name is, but it's his time traveling device.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the comics and cartoons. So yeah.
So he chooses Deadpool's timeline. So he because and this will have significance, you know, for the rest of the movie. There's a particular moment in the timeline where Cable has to go back to, because it affects his timeline in the future, and this coincides with the introduction of another character, another mutant called, what's the kid's?
His name's Russell in the films. He's played by a character, I can't remember his actual name, but he's a really great actor from New Zealand. He was in the film with Hunt for the Wilder People.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, great film.
I love that movie with Sam Neill. And the reason why we love that is because it's directed by none other than
Taika Waititi,
who directed
Ragnarok.
Bro.
And also Where We Lie in the Shadows.
Where We Lie in the Shadows as well.
Film.
So, you know, we've got all this, you know, this kind of like connection here with Marvel and everything. So I really love that. So we've got Deadpool, who's then kind of got an interaction with this new character called Russell, who is he's going
fire powers. I
can't remember what his name was.
His name was Torch Fist, wasn't it? Fire Fist. Fire Fist. I can't do New Zealand accent, but my name's Fire Fist. Fire Fist. And he sort of laughed at him.
Yeah.
But he's got fire out of his fists. Yeah. I guess.
And he's part of, you know, like you had Xavier's School for the Gifted. There's another school which is kind of like the opposite of Xavier's School, where, you know, they nurture you, they look after you, they care for you. But in this school, Russell's, you know, one of the students there who gets tortured.
Yeah.
So it's not really great. And Russell, he wants to kill the headmaster. He wants to burn down the school. And you have Deadpool. You've got
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
I always
Crazy
get
name.
like what a name, Negasonic Teenage
Warhead.
Warhead.
Yeah.
And
And she looks very different. She's grown up 2 years, but she looks
just like
very different.
Yeah, totally. So you've got these characters that they get called in, and Deadpool is now part of the X-Men.
Yeah, he goes to the X-Men mansion, and it's very funny when he goes in there, because he went into the mansion, or was he outside the mansion in the first Deadpool? And this one, he goes inside the mansion, and it's crazy what happens. It's one of the best,
I love this scene. And just going back to the Deadpool, the first part, whenever he's like outside of it, he's always like, God, there's only ever 2 people inside the mansion. It's like, it's almost like as if they didn't have enough money to have like more characters. Well, in Deadpool 2, they do have more characters, and there is an absolutely fantastic bit where Deadpool, he's sitting on Charles Xavier's wheelchair.
Yeah. Rolling around.
And then we see...
Yeah, you see Charles Xavier, you see Beast, you see Cyclops, I think you see Nightcrawler.
Yep.
You see about 6 or 7
and you
them
see
in the room.
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver. But half a second. Literally, if you blink, you'll miss it.
Yeah, and so I would say for fans out there, watch it just for that scene over there. It's absolutely brilliant. They're all in there, and you're gonna you blink, you'll miss it, but definitely watch it. So Deadpool, he's part of the X-Men. They get sent to this new to this situation where Russell is claiming, or he wants to kind of like burn down the school, kill the head teacher, and eventually, Deadpool and Russell, they get captured because something goes wrong.
To shit, basically, because Deadpool is just a mad guy.
Yeah, he kills a few people, he shoots down a few people, and he's uncontrollable. He's unpredictable, especially with Vanessa dying and everything. So he's lost his shit. And then he gets sent to a prison with Russell.
The Icebox.
The Icebox, which is in... is that in the comics?
I believe it is in the comics. It might have a different name, but I think
Yeah.
it is the same, actually. Yeah, I think it's in the comics.
And here, things start to get a bit more interesting where, Deadpool, Russell, they have this kind of... maybe like, older brother type of relationship, and where Deadpool doesn't really give a shit about him. And it's at this point where Cable... It's at this point where Cable jumps to from the future.
Yeah.
But why? Why is this?
Yeah, Cable, in the future, someone's killed his family. I think Cable is, I don't know what his actual job title or purpose is in the future, but he's a gunman. He kicks ass, he's a soldier or something like that. And someone kills his family. That's the last straw. So he uses his time device to come back to the past, which is our present, and deal with the person who killed his family. Before I go any further, I just want to do a quick introduction to Cable, because for me, Cable's one of my favourite X-Men characters. I got into comics and X-Men and all that thing, all that in the sort of early 90s. I used to watch the X-Men cartoon show.
Big up that show.
One of the best cartoon shows ever. Cable was in that. He had a few relationships with the X-Men and Apocalypse and Future and all that kind of stuff. And I love Cable, but Cable is a very, very interesting character, a very, very deep character. Lots of people don't realise, but Cable is actually related to Cyclops, Scott Summers, and Jean Grey. Cable, what happened was Jean Grey, I believe, died at some point. So someone cloned Jean Grey. Right. I think her name was Madeline Pryor or something like that. Is it Madeline Pryor or Hope Summers? I keep getting them mixed up. But someone cloned Jean Grey in the future, and Cyclops met this clone. It's weird. Wow. Cyclops met this clone and eventually fell in love with this clone because she seemed so close to Jean Grey's image or personality. Yeah. They had a child. Wow. Yeah. This child became Nathan Summers. So Cable's real name is Nathan Summers. He's got the same surname as Cyclops. The child of Jean Grey, or Jean Grey's clone, and Scott Summers creates a child of great power. So Nathan Summers, Cable, he's got the same powers as Jean Grey. He's got psychokinetic, mind powers and so on. So he can move things with his mind and he can read minds as well. But the reason why we don't see him do that is because in the future, Apocalypse infects people with the techno-organic virus,
Right.
which is a virus that turns you to metal, which is why he's got one metal arm. So he's constantly being infected by the techno-organic virus, which is why half of his sort of arm and a part of his body is metallic. So he constantly has to use his telekinetic powers to fight off the virus. So that's why he cannot fully use his psychological powers, because if he uses them, it sort of takes away his concentration,
right,
and it will infect his whole body. But otherwise, Cable or Nathan Summers is a very, very powerful telepath.
Right.
Very, very powerful.
And just talking about his powers, in this movie, do we get to see a lot of those powers?
He's strong. He's got good reflexes. He's durable. He's not super strong or anything like that. But he's more of a weapon specialist. But there is a couple of parts in the film where I think we see his psycho, his telekinetic powers.
Right.
There's a couple of parts where he gets the gun is maybe away from him and he makes it come towards him. But in the film, you kind of think, oh, is it a magnetic trick? You're not too sure. But in the comics and the cartoons, he does have the ability to, for a split second, just move something with his mind.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if in the film that was the case, but it didn't really come across that way.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, I noticed that because when there's a scene in the film where he doesn't have his gun with him, he's got his back towards the gun, and something happens where the gun just kind of flies to him. Yeah. But then it gets attached to his back.
Yeah.
So we've established that he has got this kind of connection with the X-Men. He's from the future. He's Scott Summers' son. Is that right?
Yeah, from the future.
Wow. So he's Scott Summers' son. He has the time device. He goes back to our present day because he wants to capture
Russell.
He wants to capture Russell, who we learn.
Not even capture. He wants to kill him, gun him down. This is the kid. How old is he roughly? 13 or something
13,
like that?
14 years old. Sorry. Capture is just putting it lightly. Cable wants to demolish him. He's growling, he's grunting, he just wants to kill him, and Russell is in prison with Deadpool because of the earlier incident of what happened at the school. So Cable teleports himself into the prison. There's a whole big scene there where people are prisoners are trying to get out, and we've got to add over here that prison is full of mutants.
Yeah. A mutant-only prison. They have these collars that inhibit their powers, so they literally become like regular people. So in that respect, Deadpool, he's actually dying because he has cancer from before he got his powers. So
yeah. So if you can remember back to Deadpool, the first one, he was dying of cancer, and it was only when he became a mutant that stopped him from the cancer spreading to his whole body. So with this inhibitor around his neck, he's got no powers. So he's basically dying, and he just wants to be left alone. Russell is trying to kind of say to him, "Okay, come on, look, we've got to get out of here." And then along comes Cable, who practically just who basically wants to just kill Russell. So there's a big fight scene in the prison. Loads of people escape within the prison, and Deadpool kind of has a fight which I thought Deadpool, he does really well. I mean, he's got cancer, but he starts fighting with Cable.
Yeah, does quite well actually. Yeah,
considering he's dying, and I think deep down inside, Deadpool does have a soft spot for Russell.
Yeah. Because
he doesn't want to see him. He doesn't want to see him die, and he was once a kid, and he can see how life's treated this kid. And during the fight, Deadpool's collar it gets broken, right?
Yeah, and his back and his neck, he just sort of falls down almost cartoon style, and his whole body's twisted and broken, and that releases the collar, which gives him his powers back. So as soon as he, I guess, dies from the fall, he starts to regenerate and comes alive again. Yeah,
and then Cable and Deadpool, they have this massive fight, and I can't remember now. Did Cable, obviously he escapes, right? He teleports.
No, what happens is, they have a quite a chunky fight. Deadpool teases him about, well, he says, "Who are you?" And Cable actually says, "The name's Cable." And again, that's from the comics and the cartoons. There's always a point where someone asks Cable, and he always says, he quotes The name's Cable.
Cable.
He says it in the cartoon. There's an episode. If you can watch it, really, do watch it. It's season 2 of the X-Men animation, episode 8,
Right.
Time Fugitives, part 2.
Right.
And it's an episode with Apocalypse, one of the best episodes of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Apocalypse is involved, and all the X-Men are involved, and
Yep.
Cable and the X-Men do something. Apocalypse says, "Who are you?" The name's Cable, he says. So Deadpool and Cable are having this fight in the prison. Deadpool says, "Who are you?" He says who he is. He says he's from the future, and Deadpool says, "Oh, 3 questions for you. What's that music? Dubstep. Is
Dubstep.
dubstep still around?"
Yeah.
And then he says, "You ask him, is something else still around?" Or I can't remember what they are. He asks him 3 questions, and Cable just starts to fight him.
And he batters him, he beats him, and then one of the lines is, he goes, "Dubsteps is for pussies," and I just thought that was brilliant. And just me, I'm not averse to kind of like bad language, and I'm kind of like one to kind of just like the odd swear word here and here kind of like slips out. But I was surprised with Deadpool 2. There are 2 cases of the use of the C word, and one of them is there's a prisoner in that prison scene. He uses the C word, and Cable.
Yeah. I guess in the future that word's still around.
You know what? Some things just don't go out of fashion.
No.
So, and I was just like, wow, this is like full on. This is Cable, who's really gruff. He doesn't give a shit. He's not afraid to kind of like pull his punches. And think about it, Cable wants to kill a kid.
Yeah.
Having said that, this kid in the future is responsible for the death of Cable's family.
Yeah. Also, a lot of people, he goes on a killing spree in the future. So the events that transpired from the school, the way he was tortured, all the torment he's gone through really dwells within him. And as he grows older, it manifests and gets worse and worse. He turns into a killer.
Yeah.
So, so it sounds bad, but literally he's trying to save hundreds of people by killing one kid.
And Deadpool, on the other hand, just wants to save the kid. And Deadpool he thinks that there's something good in the kid, and maybe, he can be changed. So if Deadpool can stop Russell from killing or destroying the school and killing the headmaster, then this will then stop the kind of him turning into this villain who's going to eventually kill Cable's family and all the hundreds and thousands of people out in the future. So there's this kind of big struggle going on, and things start to get kind of interesting because now Deadpool's out of prison. Oh, and how could we forget this? Russell strikes up a relationship, a friendship with none other than Juggernaut. and you know what?
He's the big guy, because he's the big guy in the prison. We don't see him for a while, but Russell learns to be the friend of the biggest guy. So yeah, that's clever of him. Very clever.
And it just reminded me of the kind of the job they did with Juggernaut in X-Men: The Last Stand.
The worst stand.
Oh God, what was his name?
Vinnie Jones.
Oh God, how could I forget? Vinnie Jones. And obviously, Juggernaut is this massive.
Yeah, he's massive.
And what I was happy with is they got the size right.
Yeah.
Finally they did get the size right for Juggernaut, because in X-Men: The Last Stand, it was it's pretty poor character development there.
Yeah.
So you've got Russell, who's now befriended Juggernaut. They escape. Deadpool's out. Cable's gone away. You've got this kind of like disparate group of people, but somehow I'm making things right. So where are we now after the whole big prison scene?
They've left the prison. Deadpool he sort of hits rock bottom, as he says in the actual film, and literally you'll see when you watch the film. And he has to regather. He realizes, okay, this Cable guy is serious. He's serious news. So Cable and Weasel go back to the drawing board and think, okay, we need to get a team together if we're gonna save Russell, break him out of prison or wherever he is, and also defend ourselves against Cable. So they go through this recruitment drive to recruit a team. and that's where you get the X-Force team come together.
And this is brilliant because now this is because I think this will then lead into the X-Force movie. This is I think this is what they're building up towards. So we're seeing kind of Domino. And what was Terry? It was brilliant seeing Terry Crews in there.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, so we've just got introduced to Terry Crews. We've just got introduced to who was the other guy?
The other one. There was. It's actually quite interesting. There was Zeitgeist. He was the tall guy who vomits acid. Do you know who he was? Do you know the actor he was? He was It.
Hello. What was his name? What was it? Hello, Mikey.
Yeah,
no,
he's It. I can't remember his real name, but he's It. The actor that plays It.
Skarsgård. Something
Bill
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård.
Bill
Yeah,
Skarsgård. Yeah. So that creepy face. How could you forget that creepy face? I mean, like
he's so tall. And
I know.
Lanky and.
So Deadpool and Weasel, they recruit kind of all these guys.
There's another guy as well. Sorry, just another guy
go
that
on.
they recruited was Shatterstar from the planet Mojo.
I don't
He was
remember.
a guy with a white suit, kind of he looked futuristic.
Right.
He was a guy that said, "I'm better than you at everything."
Right. Okay.
Shatterstar. So he's from the comics, and he's in the comics. I believe he's part of the X-Force team as well.
Right. But what was the plan? Like, what I didn't get was, or maybe I'll know in the next film. But a lot of these characters, they die.
Yeah.
They end up dying. Like Terry Crews,
Yeah.
like, he's in the film for like literally like about 4 or 5 minutes, like maybe if that. So Deadpool, he kind of puts together this team, the X-Force, and they go after Juggernaut and they go after Russell. But on hot on the heels is Cable, because don't forget, Cable wants to kill Russell, and there's a whole scene where the X-Force are chasing and fighting. So fighting Cable, chasing Russell. Russell just wants to destroy the school, wants to kill the headmaster. Deadpool wants to stop this, and stop him from becoming this kind of this villain. Cable doesn't give a shit. He just wants to kill the kid. So there's kind of like a good 10-15 minutes of the movie where it's funny, it's got action, there's loads of kind of people dying, people falling out of things in really, really funny ways. In the end, it's just Deadpool and Domino, right?
Well, it is. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So in the end, there's Domino, and then there's Deadpool, and then they eventually get hold of Russell. They talk some sense into him. They talk some sense into Cable, and they're on the same page, right? Is that right?
It is. I mean, there's a massive sort of car chase and just, I guess, car fights, or not car, they're like a lorry.
Yeah.
And it all goes down. But yeah, it's literally, and that's where you sort of, more jokes. Cable calls Deadpool John Connor because he's from the future,
he's
relentless in his pursuit of them, which the Terminator usually is. So more funny stuff happens, but yeah.
There is a line in the movie where I absolutely cracked up, and no one else cracked up in the cinema apart from me, which was Deadpool calls him One-Eyed Willie. Tell me you know this reference.
No, I missed. What's that from?
The Goonies.
Oh, he was in the Goonies. Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin was Sean Astin's elder brother.
Yes.
So in the movie, in the Goonies, for those of you who've never seen the film or too young to kind of know about it, in the movie, Josh Brolin and his brothers and all the little kids, they go on this kind of adventure on finding One-Eyed Willie's golden treasure. So seeing Deadpool call Josh Brolin One-Eyed Willie, it was just so funny. So there's loads of one-liners, loads of gags, loads of kind of funny stuff between Cable and Deadpool. No one's really winning. Deadpool with his swords, just kind of like flicking his Cable's bullets away, defending himself. So there's loads of brilliant interaction there. But eventually, by the end of this big scene, they come together. They realize that there might be a way that they can save Russell. So if he doesn't kill, maybe the future is saved.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
There's a bit. During that talk, just got to mention the state that Deadpool's in, because after the car chase, it gets to an end. The car sort of crashes, and out of the car comes the Juggernaut.
Right.
And it's the fight. I mean, everyone else is knocked out. Deadpool's up. Russell is up. Juggernaut comes out of nowhere, and Deadpool says, "Oh, Juggernaut, I love you. I've seen you in this comic. I've seen you in that comic." Juggernaut walks up to Deadpool and says, "I'm going to tear you in half now." Deadpool doesn't think he's serious. Juggernaut literally picks him up, tears him in half, and throws him on the floor. And later on, when Deadpool and his team have a chat, Deadpool literally is growing these baby legs throughout the whole chat. It's so funny.
This scene is just absolutely so funny. So I want listeners out there just to kind of like picture this. Imagine Juggernaut, this huge, massive mutant who can kind of like crush a body.
Yeah.
And you've got Deadpool, who he can't basically die. And Juggernaut says to Deadpool, I'm gonna break your body in half, and that's what he does. He literally pulls his body apart
like a sausage.
It's just the thought of it is just hilarious. And then because Deadpool can't die, what happens is his legs start to grow. He's got these baby legs, and it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie where everyone sees Deadpool growing his legs,
and his little baby Willy as well pops out.
You know what? There's so many funny bits, but that bit is really, really funny. Yeah. So Deadpool, we're obviously waiting for Deadpool's legs to grow back. There's funny interaction with Weasel. There's Dopinder over there. Yep. There's
and Dopinder, he gets more in this film, which I like, because he's an interesting character. He's funny. He's the stereotype, but he doesn't play against it. He's just himself. But in this, he's a bit more of the team. He's
part of kind of like the he's not. Like he's not part of the X-Force, but he's there. He
has his place, doesn't he?
He has his place because Deadpool loves him.
Yeah, and also without him, how will they get around? Because Deadpool uses him to get from A to B.
A to B, exactly.
And when the X-Force finally go to try and save Russell, it's Deadpool, it's Domino, it's Cable, all in the car together.
And that bit, and what I loved, there's a bit in there where there's some Indian music, there's some like Bollywood music playing on in the background, and Cable is like, turn this shit off. It's just so funny. I loved it. I cracked up.
And Deadpool calls him racist, isn't it?
Deadpool calls him racist, and he's like, and Deadpool's like, Cable's like, I'm not racist because I just don't want to listen to this music. Yeah. It's just so funny. So there's so many funny bits in the movie, and then they end up in the school, right? So they all take a taxi. Dopinder's driving. They end up in the taxi.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think. All those guys, all those mutants against the head teacher. I mean, it was always going to end in one way, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was. I mean, the thing is, Deadpool's team is trying to stop Russell and Juggernaut from killing the head teacher.
Yeah.
So in a way, the head teacher has got some people on his side, even though he doesn't know. But then they've got all these orderlies in there that just the cannon fodder. They just they're just getting mowed down. But yeah, I mean, the head teacher hasn't got a chance if Deadpool doesn't succeed, then he's finished.
Yeah, and then Russell, he comes very, very close to doing it, and obviously Russell has got the power to do it. I mean, he's got fire fists, so he can burn down.
Fists.
Yeah, he can burn down the whole building, and he can kind of like and what I liked was you could see Russell turning into that villain.
Yeah,
he's got that rage.
And he started to have more confidence in his power, and it was getting darker. And
there's definitely this risk that Russell was going to turn into this kind of like this bad person and do the things that Cable said he was going to do. So, so in the end, there's another big fight scene. Deadpool killing the orderlies.
No, hold on. There's a part where Deadpool goes back to the X-Men mansion to try and persuade Colossus to join the team.
Right.
Colossus says no. But then when they get to the mansion and they start to approach Juggernaut and Russell, they try to fight Juggernaut. Juggernaut's too strong for them, and then out of the blue, Colossus comes, and that's where you get that big CGI battle. Colossus versus Juggernaut, which is classic X-Men, villain hero.
Yeah, and just that reminded me the bit where Deadpool goes back to the mansion.
Yeah.
there's a reference to Say Anything is a Cameron Crowe film with John Cusack, with the radio.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
So and I mean, I'm a big fan of Say Anything. So for me, that got like a huge round of applause for me.
Yeah.
You know that one, Deval, right?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Of course.
There's a small moment as well. Just want to quickly touch on it when. It reminded me of a Spider-Man Homecoming part, but there's a small moment when Russell and Juggernaut are approaching the mansion. They've been talking off screen, and we get the end of the conversation where Juggernaut says to Russell, so he's my brother, and I left him in a wheelchair, but I've got to wear this helmet, and the boy says, oh, so he can't read your mind? He's like, yeah. So it's just a really quick end of conversation part that we get to, like, without giving us a full explainer as to, I mean, we know that Juggernaut, aka Kane Marco, is the half brother of Professor X. But
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he's a half brother of Professor X, which is the reason why he wears that helmet. So Professor X can't read his mind. And the powers of the Juggernaut, just a real quick one. The Juggernaut, his powers are magical. His powers are from Cyttorax.
Holy shit!
Cyttorax is also linked to Doctor Strange, his realm of magic. So, do you remember that part in Infinity War?
Yeah.
When Doctor Strange is fighting Thanos. There's a part where he gets all these like bands, these orange bands, and he puts it on Thanos.
Yeah.
That's the ancient bands of Cyttorax, I believe it's called. And is it called that or something like that? And those powers are linked to the magical, like a tablet or some magical entity that Juggernaut got his powers from. So there's a link. It all goes.
You know what? My mind is blown. Devout. My mind is blown. Like seriously, wow. So this is the connection.
That's it. The Crimson Bands of Cyttorax. That's what the actual power is called of Doctor Strange. But it derives from Cyttorax, which is the same power that Juggernaut's power comes from. Sorry, just had to get that in there.
Wow. I mean, mind blown. So here this is how everything's linked. So there's this big CGI battle, Colossus, Juggernaut. Who comes out? Who do you reckon comes out the better there?
I think technically Juggernaut he could have beat them all, but they all had to band together. So Colossus gives him a really good fight though. Colossus is really strong. He's metal, but Juggernaut is on another level. But Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, and Yukio.
Yep.
Who is Negasonic Teenage Warhead's girlfriend? They come in as well and help Colossus to overcome the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
They electrify him and they've got an electric wire up his bum. Do you remember? And then they throw him in water. So I guess he's got no protection there, has he?
Oh, I remember the bit now because this massive fat ass is like on the screen, this like huge big crack, and they just shove like the pole or the wire or whatever it is, and that sends him kind of like flying. So yeah, I totally remember that one. Yeah. Oh my god, how could I forget that? So all right, so Juggernaut's defeated. They save Russell, i.e. he doesn't kill the head teacher.
Yep.
And you know what? It's all looking good for the X-Force and Deadpool.
Good. But then there's one little part where Russell, he almost does go crazy and tries to kill everyone.
Yeah.
And then Deadpool sacrifices himself by jumping in the way because Cable is thinking enough is enough. You've had your 30 seconds to try and save him.
Yeah.
So Cable's just going to shoot the kid, and he does shoot the kid. Deadpool jumps in the way. He puts the collar on first. Actually, he puts the collar on to say, I'm gonna go normal. I can't remember why he puts the collar on, but he puts the collar on, jumps in the way of the bullet, so he's gonna die.
Yeah.
And he shows Russell that he's sacrificing himself for him to stop being bad.
Yeah.
And then you get that really prolonged scene of Deadpool dying, and it just takes ages, but it's really funny.
It is really, really funny. And then Russell kind of realizes that, look, shit, I'm being a bit of a dick. This guy Deadpool, who, he just sacrificed himself for me, so maybe I shouldn't do what they're all saying that I should do. But then the kind of get out of clause is time travel.
There's no time at all. And it's funny how the same actor playing two different roles has got the power of time.
Now, okay, was Josh Brolin, was he cast for Cable before Thanos, or?
I personally don't like the fact that Josh Brolin is Thanos, but I believe he was maybe a high contender. I don't know who else. I think they had the guy from Stranger Things. He was a contender for Cable.
Right.
Also, the guy from Avatar. He was a contender. There's the soldier guy.
Oh, the villain.
Yeah, the villain. The sort of military bad guy. He was a contender. My personal contender from day one, from the 90s, was going to be Ron Perlman. For me, he was born
Great
to
choice.
be Cable. He's got the height. He's got the stature.
He's massive.
If you see him in Aliens 4, in Hellboy,
Hellboy.
he's got obviously makeup and so on.
Blade as well.
Blade. He's worked with Reynolds before. I'm surprised Reynolds didn't,
get him involved.
Ron Perlman for me is Cable.
Could it be that because Josh Brolin is he a bigger name?
Yes, he is. So don't get me wrong. He does an excellent job. His voice, the grit, the weight of the world that you feel, the look. He does a perfect job. Don't get me wrong. So he does do a good job being Cable.
But isn't it? Yeah, because obviously when I realised that Cable was going to be played by Josh Brolin, I thought, oh wow, look, so he's Thanos and he's Cable, and obviously Thanos is. I mean, that character is going to come to an end, right?
At some point.
Some point. In the comics, is Thanos dead?
No.
So after Infinity Gauntlet,
doesn't die. No.
Because I know that they did another comic. They released one just recently as well. So Thanos is back in that one.
In the comics, people sometimes die and come back, but from what I recall, after the Infinity Gauntlet story, he doesn't die. No.
Right. In terms of kind of like the movie, in the cinematic universe, could this? Do you think he'll pop up? Maybe could they bring him back?
I think they probably should kill him. Otherwise, he'll always come back, knowing Thanos.
Because I'm thinking, if after Avengers 4, Josh Brolin is probably like, right, okay, I'm going to do Thanos in part 3, part 4, and then I've got Cable just to kind of worry about, because X-Force is going to be the next thing.
He signed a 5-picture deal. So he's just done his first with Deadpool 2.
Wow.
So there's 4 more appearances. Doesn't mean it's going to be the main person in the film.
Yeah.
He may have a cameo appearance in one of the X-Men films, maybe. Maybe that's part of his 5-picture deal. So we'll see how that plays out.
Wow, this is just like crazy. So now we've got the X-Force kind of banded together.
Yeah.
They kind of, they feel like as if they're a team, right?
Yeah.
But there's one final thing, which made me laugh so much. This is towards the end of the film. So like I said before, Russell he saved. He didn't kill the head teacher.
Yep. And then you see Cable's teddy bear, because Cable's got a teddy bear which was with his daughter when she died.
That's from the comics.
With blood and so on. But then as soon as Russell is redeemed and doesn't turn bad, the teddy bear turns normal. So then that's a I guess it's a sign that Russell is going to be good. He's not going to kill his family. His family are safe.
The timeline's kind of like changed, and it reminded me of like Back to the Future. Marty McFly in the photograph.
Yeah.
It's almost like that, where Marty's back in the photograph, and then the head teacher, who's alive, gets killed.
Dopinder comes.
Our taxi driver, our typical taxi driver, he just runs him over, which I thought was just so funny. The head teacher does die, but not at the hands of Russell.
Yeah.
So it's all looking good in kind of Deadpool and an X-Force.
Yep.
But what's going to happen with Vanessa?
Vanessa, well, right at the end, when Deadpool saved Russell by jumping in away with the bullet, he was going to die. Cable saw that, and because Cable's time device has got 2 charges, one to get him to where he is, one to get him back. So once he saw Deadpool's sacrifice and he saw that his family are safe, he used his last charge to go back in time and put Deadpool's coin. He's got a coin that his girlfriend gave him.
Yep.
He put it on where he will get shot. So then time went back to that point. Deadpool jumps in front of the bullet. He gets shot, but it hits the coin. He's alive. It's fine. Doesn't die. And then everyone's happy. Live happily ever after. But that means Cable's going to stick around. As he says, he can't go back.
He can't go back.
So it means obviously he's going to come back in X-Force. But then without spoiling it too much, 'cause I think we just let the people see the end credit scenes and
Yeah.
not get too spoiled. But Deadpool gets his hands on a time device, and he. We might as well go into it, shouldn't we?
Might as well.
We might as well go into it.
Might as well. He goes back. He basically goes back in time, and he saves Vanessa.
He saves Vanessa.
He saves Vanessa because obviously imagine this. You're the love of your life is dead. You've got a time device. What are you gonna do? So and especially if you're Deadpool, who's mischievous, he's kind of like unpredictable. He's like, fuck it, I've got a time device, and he actually gets Megasonic Teenage Warhead and Yuki.
Yeah, Yukio.
Yeah, Yukio. They're actually working on it, and she's fixing it. And
it's always funny how easily people fix things, isn't it? She's got a screwdriver, just
like turning it, twisting it, and then like here you
done.
go. So I'm assuming then like Cable can go back as well, then, right?
But then Cable probably doesn't know what's happening. I don't even know where Cable is. But it's also funny when you see the, Deadpool going back in time, the music they play is Cher. If I can go back,
if I can turn back time,
yeah.
Which is brilliant. So he goes back and he saves Vanessa. So Vanessa is alive.
Yeah. So we'll see her again in the third film.
We're definitely going to see her in the third film. Now, in the next movie, is it a standalone X-Force movie, or is it Deadpool and the X-Force in that?
I think, from what I've heard so far, is that it's going to be more of a team film.
Right.
I don't know who the villain's going to be, and I think it should, because we didn't get much of an X-Force in this film. So whether the X-Force will comprise of the same characters we saw in this film or slightly different characters, I don't know, but I think we should have more of an X-Force and also more of Cable. I think we'll find out more about what Cable is all about, where he's from, what his motivations are. Maybe we'll find out a bit more about his powers, so I think the next film will show us a bit more about that side of things.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, do we need an origin story for Cable?
I wouldn't say origin story, but I think we should get to understand him a bit more and just, I don't know, I guess see where his motivations lie, see what the next film will bring. Because
Cable, he's kind of like the leader of the X-Force, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. In the comics, he is.
Yeah. So how they wrote this into the story, which I thought was pretty cool. So he can't go back to his own timelines. That he stays behind. The X-Force is there. He creates the X-Force with maybe Deadpool. I got a feeling it might be a standalone X-Force movie where Deadpool is in it as well, but he might not be kind of like the main. He's definitely going to be in it, but I don't think because in the comics, Deadpool doesn't join the X-Force until later on, right? Yeah, so it started off with with Cable kind of starting the X-Force.
Domino's in the X-Force team as well.
Yeah. So they could obviously play around with that and have him in there, but it'd be good. I would love to see like an X-Force movie.
Oh yeah, they got to do it.
They got to
do it.
And this X-Force movie is for me, I think it's got to be like rated R.
No, it has to be. Like, they've got to keep it going. They can't tone it. If they tone it down, they will lose a lot of respect and a lot of.
Because with Cable already kind of like, dropping the C word, like, I'm just thinking you can't go back from that.
No.
Like, you've got to have him violent, you've got to have him like, gritty, like, and he's dark as well, isn't he? He's like a dark character.
Yeah. He even says, "You're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
That was brilliant. This is just like the one-liners are just, and what about the whole Martha?
Oh my gosh, Martha.
They dropped Martha's name in there because obviously from Batman versus Superman.
He said to Vanessa at the start, "Oh, sorry, I'm late. I was just off saving the world, and I came across another caped superhero whose mum was also called Martha." It's the way he drops it.
I thought that was absolutely awesome.
Also, there's a part where I've got to put this in there. There's a part where Deadpool is fighting the Juggernaut, and Juggernaut's obviously too tough for him. As he's fighting the Juggernaut, he says, the sun's getting real low. The sun's getting real low."
I laughed my arse off. That was hilarious. The Hulk.
Now, if anyone I kind of use that in real life now. If there's any situation where someone's getting angry, I just say, the sun's getting real low. And most people don't understand what I'm doing. But I'm hoping one day it will work.
Oh shit! You know what? You're absolutely right. I love that scene so much. It was absolutely hilarious. I mean, like as a character, I think they're definitely on a hit, right?
Oh yeah.
But you know what? When I saw the Marvel logo at the beginning of the movie, so this is it's a Marvel film, is it?
It's still Fox, because when this whole acquisition, the Disney acquisition of Fox came about end of last year, this film had already been pretty much made.
Right.
So I guess we're going to see when the next film is produced how they're going to distribute it, if it's going to be under the Disney banner, who knows.
Right.
These takeovers can take time.
So could something similar happen to the Fantastic Four?
They're on the Fox too, so yeah, it could happen.
So there could be kind of this joint partnership with Marvel, and because I mean that's what they did with Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, well, Spider-Man's owned by Sony, and it's more of a lending type arrangement, from what I understand. Marvel haven't bought the full rights of Spider-Man with Sony. They've got an agreement for like a loan period.
Right.
So there's a period in which Sony have given Marvel the creative rights, or the creative freedom to create Spider-Man, but Spider-Man will go back to Sony at some stage.
So for the standalone Spider-Man film, that will purely just be a Sony production.
And as it stands now, Marvel are creating. Let's say Spider-Man: Homecoming was produced by Marvel. Obviously, Spider-Man was in Infinity War. Spider-Man: Homecoming 2 again will be produced by Marvel. After that, I'm not sure how the arrangement works. It's only for a specific amount of time. But I think Sony should just give it up.
I mean,
give it up.
Yeah, because obviously Marvel, they are just banging out hit after hit, and if they can do the same, I think I would like to see the Fantastic Four being done properly.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't that be like something amazing? They've had two chances. Sony, is it Sony, right? They've got
Fox.
Fox.
Yeah.
So
we had the first Fantastic Four, 2005, I believe it came out, with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans and so on. And I think
Silver Surfer
sequel 2007, which was they were good films. They were quite light. They weren't really too serious. Obviously, Galactus they screwed up, and in 2015 they had the new Fantastic Four, which they totally screwed up. So yeah, they need fresh creativity with this.
Yeah, and a funny thing, another thing that I was reading with Deadpool 2, apparently Chris Evans as Human Torch was like this close, like really close to being in Deadpool 2.
Yeah,
so
really close. He was going to be the Vanisher, but it ended up being Brad Pitt.
Yeah, seeing his face, oh my, it was hilarious. I just couldn't believe it. It's like how they do it. It's just like it's so crazy.
Do you know which other cameo was in it as well? There's another couple of cameos which I totally missed.
No, go on, tell me.
The part where Cable first appears, like Terminator style, in the sort of he appears somewhere where there's these two guys chatting to each other.
And he hang on, what's his name? Oh.
Well, one of them is Matt Damon.
What?
You didn't know? I knew it.
Are you
One of them is Matt
kidding
Damon.
me?
Another one is the guy from Firefly. That's that TV series, and he was also in.
He does a lot of
the blonde
voiceovers.
guy, the pirate in Dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, so it was him and Matt Damon. Yeah.
That was Matt.
Again, Matt Damon creeping into the Marvel world
because we saw him in Ragnarok as well. Oh my God, that is brilliant.
Was in it. Yeah.
That is brilliant. And what was it? Was there another one that you said?
Well, Ryan Reynolds actually voiced Juggernaut.
Oh, this is like, you know what? Mind blown. So Ryan Reynolds is like how many flipping?
Well, he's obviously Deadpool. He's co-writer, producer
now,
and there's something else he's done as well. Can't remember. But yeah, he's getting paid.
This guy is getting it. But you know what? We have to talk about when he gets hold of this time device and what he does. He actually goes. Yes, we totally forgot about this. When he goes back in time, he actually
he rewrites. He fixes the timeline, doesn't he?
So Deadpool rewrites Ryan Reynolds' timeline. So let's just go back. He goes back to X-Men Origins, and he kills. He kills himself, like he kills Deadpool.
Version of Deadpool, he kills him.
He goes back and kills Ryan Reynolds, who's reading the script of
Green Lantern.
Yeah. And was there another one?
No, those two. Well, obviously he saved Vanessa first, and then he done those two, which were some of the best post-credit scenes in any film.
I don't think you can top that. So this is Deadpool killing Ryan Reynolds, like in post-credit scenes. Like I thought was really good. And let's face it, I mean. The Green Lantern, They could have personally. They could have done a much better job with that one.
They could have done better. I mean, at the time, there wasn't as much great stuff to compare it to, but people really shot it down. I mean, it's not the greatest film. I don't think it's the worst film, but yeah, it gets a lot of bad criticism.
It does
Again, a link from that film to this, Taika Waititi, you know, he was his best chum in the film, in Green Lantern, and that's where Taika Waititi recommended that the Russell character, Taika Waititi recommended him to Deadpool 2.
Oh,
yeah, Taika Waititi was his best pal in Green Lantern.
God, look at this, Deval. You know your shit. You know what? This is you really upped your game. Do you know that? I love this, man. Like, this is brilliant. So I think maybe in a couple of years' time. So I say probably what, 2020 or is it 2019?
I reckon they can keep it every couple of years. You know.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
But for the next, because we know that Marvel, they announced like a whole slate of films up until 2022.
Yeah, that's right.
So Deadpool and X-Force, this is all going to kind of fit in there somewhere, and alongside another Spider-Man.
Yep, another X-Men film.
So what do you I think for the next 10 years we're covered, right?
We're covered, man. We're covered. We're good.
Like Avengers 4, we got Ant-Man and Wasp.
Ant-Man and Wasp, Miss Marvel, Guardians 3, Homecoming 2. Sort of a Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2.
Yep.
You know, there's also talks of an Eternals film.
Wow.
Yeah, the Eternals, they're deep. The Eternals are oh my gosh, they're linked to Thanos in a way, because his people were descendants of Eternals, I believe.
Wow.
Is it Eternals or Celestials? I think I might be getting them mixed up. But Celestials are another big entity in Marvel.
Is that the 4? Do we see those in a post-credit?
Star-Lord's dad is a Celestial. Remember?
Right.
Kurt Russell. He's been around from the beginning of the universe.
Yeah.
But Marvel are planning on doing something very, very, very galactic.
Yeah.
You know, they're not even going to be... Well, they're going to be humanoid, I'm sure, but they're not going to be humans. It's just another level of Marvel.
Right.
You know,
Shit.
There's so many things happening in the works that we don't even hardly know about. You know, so another 10, 20 years.
So for the movie, and one of the big things that I kind of like always like try and look at is or read about is, will there be another Iron Man, like another Iron Man, or will there be Iron Man 4?
I don't know. I think there could be. Easily, people will go and see that film. Whether there should be another one, I think they probably, you know, Iron Man can show up in anyone's film for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and he'll run the show.
Exactly, like what he did in Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that was pretty amazing. I you know what, I've got to say, I would like to see Robert Downey Jr. just give this one, like, you know, be in this one last Iron Man film, and it just like blows everything up, and it kind of like culminates in him saying, right, okay, look, I'm giving you this film, and boom, I'm done with it now.
Part 3, Iron Man 3, I hated that, so
it was a bit of a letdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's got to make up for that.
Yeah, but also just going on Iron Man 3, sorry, we're going on a bit of a tangent here, but Iron Man 3, I was thinking, why didn't this film work? Because it's directed by
Shane Black, who was in Predator.
He wrote Predator. He directed Lethal. He created Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. Like
this guy who's got, like, you know, I'm a huge fan of Shane Black, but unfortunately, like, kind of it didn't work out. So I think they need to give us another Iron Man. But with Avengers 4 coming along,
who knows what's going to happen? Is Iron Man going to be around after that?
Yeah.
Who knows?
So I mean, folks, there you have it. If you can, definitely watch Deadpool. And let us know what you think. As always, you can message us on Twitter at The Flicksters, on Facebook at The Flicksters. Let us know what you think about those films. Let us know what you think about films in general. We'd be happy to kind of read your responses, good or bad. Even if you like, you know.
Yeah, if you don't like it, it's all right. We don't like all films. Also, if you want us to review a film or have any ideas, we can review a film for you as well. So, yeah, get involved.
Yeah. What you got planned for later, Deval?
I've actually recorded the royal wedding, so only joking. No, I'm not. I'm telling the truth.
He has. Listen, like you were. Come on, bro. I was
just
watching
dipping
it
in to see what would happen, hoping someone will fall over. But no one fell over, so it's kind of.
Apparently, there was Ryan Reynolds was going to turn up over there as well.
What, as Deadpool? Can you imagine? I'll pay to see that.
Okay, that's it, folks. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you on the next one.
Peace out.